The divide between Donald Trump and top Republicans widens. What's feeding the growing political rift? The spreading Zika virus, how a lack of federal money could make matters worse. Crash landing, a commercial jet bursts into flames.
All the people was shouting, crying.
Passengers describe the chaos. And Pope Francis reflects, recalling his visit to Auschwitz. He prays for the victims of violence and war. Those stories and more on EWTN News Nightly for Wednesday, August 3rd, 2016. Good evening from Washington. Thank you for joining us. I'm Brian Patrick. Donald Trump says he's not sure he'll back Speaker of the House Paul Ryan or Senator John McCain for re-election. His announcement is further dividing the Republican Party. Chief White House correspondent and political director Lauren Ashburn reports.
Brian, the decision may trigger a civil war in the Republican Party between Donald Trump and Republican leadership. And now the chairman of the Republican National Committee is apparently not happy with the GOP presidential nominee, continuing an ongoing feud in the party. A source tells CNN Reince Priebus is incredibly upset with Donald Trump for refusing to endorse House Speaker Paul Ryan in his state's primary. It follows Ryan's defense of the parents of a fallen Muslim American soldier who are in a feud with Trump. Ryan faces Paul Nellen in Wisconsin next week. When Trump was asked why he was not endorsing Ryan, he said he is, quote, not quite there yet. The comment echoed what Ryan said when he delayed his endorsement of Trump. According to the source, Priebus is taking the slight personally because he is so close to Ryan. He was the chairman of Ryan's first congressional race. And Trump also says that he hasn't endorsed former prisoner of war Arizona Senator John McCain for re-election because he has not done a good job for our vets. There is a question whether Trump's non-endorsement could hurt Ryan or backfire on Trump. According to a Marquette University Law School poll, 84% of Republicans and Republican-leaning independents in Ryan's district had a favorable view of Ryan. Only 9% had an unfavorable view. Meanwhile, the White House denied suggestions that a $400 million cash payment to Iran in January was a ransom to free 4 Americans being held in Tehran. The administration says the pallet of cash were sent to Iran by the U.S. to, quote, resolve a long-standing claim at The Hague. The White House says that Republicans like Marco Rubio and Speaker Paul Ryan are falsely accusing the White House of paying ransom to justify their opposition to an Iran nuclear deal. And Donald Trump blames Hillary Clinton for the deal, tweeting, our incompetent Secretary of State Hillary Clinton was the one who started talks to give $400 million in cash to Iran. Scandal. Other politicians say they are concerned the money would be used by Iran to fund Bashar Assad's regime in Syria or Hezbollah in Lebanon. Brian, back to you.
Lauren Ashburn at the White House, thank you. Donald Trump's running mate, Mike Pence, breaks with the Republican nominee, endorsing House Speaker Paul Ryan in his primary fight. Pence says he spoke with Trump about this today, about his support for Ryan, who is his longtime friend. He says Trump actually encouraged him to endorse Ryan in next Tuesday's primary. Other stories our EWTN News Nightly team is covering in today's world. The FBI arrests a Washington, D.C. area transit police officer on charges of terrorism. The Justice Department says Nicholas Young of Fairfax, Virginia, was caught in an FBI sting. He's been a police officer for the Metro Transit System here in D.C. for more than a dozen years. Documents show he's been under surveillance for the past 6 years, twice traveling to Libya in 2011. He claims he joined rebel forces seeking to oust Muammar Gaddafi. Italy welcomes the U.S. to use Italian bases to launch airstrikes against ISIS targets in Libya. Italy previously allowed U.S. armed drones to launch from its bases. The British military releases videos showing its airstrikes on a palace in Mosul, Iraq. They say the palace, built by Saddam Hussein, was being used by ISIS militants. They believed it served as a headquarters and training center for foreign recruits. Planes from several nations were involved in Monday's airstrikes. A firefighter responding to the crash landing of a plane in Dubai is killed, but all 300 people on that flight survive. An Emirates flight from India burst into flames after crash landing at Dubai's main airport today. Black smoke billowing from the wreckage halted all traffic at the Middle East's busiest airport. Passengers and crew escaped down inflatable emergency slides, grateful to have made it out safely.
See, our belongings is gone, that's not problem. Our family is safe. We all have saved our life. So God has mercy on us.
This is the most serious accident ever for Emirates Airline. The pilot indicated a possible problem with the plane's landing gear when requesting an emergency landing. There are now known 15 Zika cases from exposure to mosquitoes near Miami, Florida. The Centers for Disease Control is struggling to eradicate mosquitoes that carry the virus. Meanwhile, funding to fight the spread of Zika remains in political gridlock. Jason Calvi reports from the U.S. Capitol tonight on lawmakers playing the blame game. Jason?
Brian, Florida Senator Marco Rubio says it's inexcusable that Congress went on its summer recess without coming up with a compromise on Zika funding. Today, the Secretary of Health and Human Services warns Congress that they're quickly running out of money for the research of a possible Zika vaccine. This comes as Florida is scrambling to kill the mosquitoes that can breed in standing water the size of a bottle cap.
Clouds of bug spray and repellent for the homeless.
This will help protect you, okay?
Thank you.
But Florida Senator Marco Rubio says more needs to be done.
I find it unbelievable that an issue of this magnitude could become a political volleyball. And I think both parties are to blame for this.
Back in June, Democratic senators blocked Zika funding in part because it didn't give money to Planned Parenthood.
To somehow reduce the funding for contraception and reduce funding for women's health goes in absolutely the wrong direction for us in this country.
Republicans countered.
Because Planned Parenthood wasn't specifically listed as one of the places to do the work, they suddenly said that we're shooting down Planned Parenthood on it. Planned Parenthood's not going to be the expert, it's not going to be the location. That's the best bet for that anyway.
The Zika virus is linked to brain-related birth defects. But a CDC official told us a mother infected in the first trimester will give birth to a healthy child 85 to 99% of the time. Still, the CDC urges pregnant women to avoid the Miami neighborhood where Zika is prevalent. That's the first time in history the CDC is warning people not to travel somewhere in the United States. And hundreds of pregnant women in that area are being tested.
It's just crazy. Instead of telling us to stay home and trapped in the house, I don't know. I really don't know. It's just very stressful to me.
Senator Rubio blames the president for not using $300 million in unused Ebola funding. The Wall Street Journal says the president is sitting on this money to help elect Democrats. But Brian, the White House today saying that Republicans are the ones who failed to give the $1.9 billion that the president requested.
Thank you, Jason Calvi at the Capitol Hill. We're Skyping tonight with Dr. Gracie Christie, a Miami physician and policy advisor for the Catholic Association. Gracie, can you give us a sense of how this travel warning is being felt in South Florida?
Here in South Florida, we're used to mosquitoes and the diseases that they bring, so I think we're taking it a little bit at our ease, but we do worry from a financial perspective that tourists may decide not to come. So we're hoping that this clears up real fast.
Now, the Zika virus is linked to a condition called microcephaly. What is that?
Microcephaly is when a child's head is not as large as it ought to be. And this may cause problems in mentation for the children. Not always, but it can.
So the CDC has talked about women who are pregnant and infected with the Zika virus getting tested for this in the first and even second trimester of pregnancy. As a medical professional, do you see the abortion movement taking advantage of this situation?
No, Zika is a problem, and our country needs to respond with firm strategies and prevention, such as mosquito control and help for the people who are affected, medical help. But as Catholics, because we can see the face of Jesus in every human being, we need to fight hard against the pro-abortion forces who are using Zika as a crisis that they can use to promote an eugenic mentality that sees as the only solution of a problem the elimination of the person who is suffering the problem, in this case, children who might be congenitally affected by the virus.
So even a positive outcome for the Zika virus and microcephaly never justifies the taking of a human life?
Well, I can quote Pope Francis on this. When he was coming back from Mexico a few months ago, he was asked about just this question, and he said that abortion is an absolute evil. In fact, it's a crime, and it is the removal, the elimination of one person's life to benefit another's. So as Catholics, we need to hew strong to those words and fight through this crisis of Zika.
How would you advise then a pregnant woman who tests positive for Zika? What should they do?
There are firm guidelines from the CDC as to surveillance of the child and tests of the blood, and she needs to take it easy and pray, and know that the transmission rate, or actually the infection rate with side effects is very low, lower than we've been led to think, maybe in the media where this is being hyped up.
And certainly a child born with microcephaly is a child of God. Dr. Gracie Christie joining us by Skype from Miami. Gracie with the Catholic Association. Thank you so much, Gracie.
Thank you.
And Indiana is not appealing a federal judge's order temporarily blocking a state law that bans abortion sought because of genetic abnormalities. Planned Parenthood sought the order in a lawsuit, claiming the law is unconstitutional. The Indiana Attorney General's office says there's no need to appeal the judge's order at this point, adding if the judge makes the injunction permanent, the state would likely appeal that. Delaware's Supreme Court rules that state's death penalty law is unconstitutional in light of a recent U.S. Supreme Court ruling. State justices say the law violates the U.S. Constitution, allowing a judge to sentence a person to death without a jury's recommendation. That determination, the court says, must be made unanimously and beyond a reasonable doubt by the jury. A Delaware Right to Life statement says, in part, we take no official position on the death penalty because our focus is ending abortion. We fervently wish that such legal protection as was granted to the 14 men on death row today in Delaware would also be extended to the innocent unborn victims facing a violent and painful death in the clinics throughout our state. The state of Arizona is named for its dry climate, but when it rains there, it pours. Flash flooding snarled evening rush hour traffic in Phoenix on Tuesday. Heavy rains inundated roads in the Tucson area, prompting the evacuation of 2 high schools. Water rescues were reported in Scottsdale, Phoenix, and Tucson. Firefighters brace for strong winds as they battle a western Montana fire that's destroyed 14 homes. The fire may have contributed to a man's death. The blaze in the Bitterroot National Forest forced the evacuations of hundreds of homes. Family members say 64-year-old Bruce Robinson died of a heart attack as he tried to evacuate from the fire area. Coming up, Alan Holdren shares the Pope's reflections on his journey to Poland and previews the Pope's next trip. And 3 sisters overcome incredible odds to compete in the Junior Olympics. In this world, we need fellowship, closeness, dialogue. We need friendship. From the Instagram account of Pope Francis today, thanks for joining us this Wednesday evening. I'm Brian Patrick. Sandwiched between his trip to Poland and a short pilgrimage tomorrow to Assisi, Pope Francis holds his first general audience in more than a month. Alan Holdren, Rome Bureau Chief for EWTN's Catholic News Agency, is joining us. Alan, you were with Pope Francis in Poland. What did he say today about the experience at the general audience this morning?
Pope Francis was talking about this great hope that he sees for the future when looking at the youth. He also spoke about what he called the mosaic of fraternity. There at World Youth Day, you have flags that represent the great diversity of humanity, and he referred specifically to them and said that you had flags from countries in conflict. You had this great experience of fraternity, bringing people from all over the world together as a celebration of faith. He also spoke about the values of Europe, the Christian values that in Poland are such an amazing legacy. He said the cultural and spiritual legacy of Poland is really an example for the rest of the world.
And in talking about understanding, and this is a quote, more than ever the value of memory, what was he referring to?
He was speaking about his visits to the Nazi death camps of Auschwitz and Birkenau, and this reflection that he had while he was there on the importance of remembering. He said that he was praying while he was there about the cruelties, the difficulties, this great amount of death there. He said that it was the abyss of evil there in Auschwitz. He said it's important now more than ever to have this understanding of our history and to learn from it. He said it's not only a lesson for the past, but also a warning and a responsibility for the present and the future.
And this Pope just keeps on moving. He's already taking another short pilgrimage tomorrow, very meaningful. Where is he going and why?
Well, he's going up to Assisi by helicopter. It's not too far from here. It's just a very short trip, actually. He's going to go into the Basilica of Our Lady of the Angels, which is right at the base of Assisi, right before you go up to where St. Francis is buried. And this is the site where St. Francis saw Jesus and Mary in a vision. And they asked him what he wanted. He said that he would like a pardon for everybody who seeks it, so that they might enter heaven. And this is remembered there in a small church within the church called the Portiuncola. And the Pope is going to visit there. He's going to also visit with local people from the area. It'll be a very significant but very short visit to remember the 800th anniversary of that great pardon.
And we'll cover that pilgrimage tomorrow on EWTN News Nightly. Alan Holdren, thanks for joining us from Rome.
Thank you.
Pope Francis says he hopes the Summer Olympics will inspire solidarity for both athletes and spectators. He told pilgrims at his weekly audience that the world is thirsty for peace, tolerance, and reconciliation. The Holy Father reminds us we are all members of the same human family. The Pope's universal prayer intention for August focuses on sports. He says in a video, "I dream of sports as the practice of human dignity turned into a vehicle of fraternity." He says he prays that sports may be an opportunity for friendly encounters between people and may contribute to peace in the world. U.S. Secretary of State John Kerry will lead the U.S. delegation to the Summer Olympics in Rio de Janeiro. He'll be joined by Olympic gold medal swimmer Mark Spitz and others. Swimmer Michael Phelps, the most decorated Olympian of all time, is flag bearer. Members of Team USA chose him to carry the Stars and Stripes at Friday's opening ceremonies. And the Olympic torch is now in Rio, arriving by boat today. First lit in ancient Olympia, Greece on April 21st, it's been crisscrossing Brazil. The flame will now wind its way to Maracana Stadium for Friday's opening ceremony. Three sisters competing in the Junior Olympics share an unusual, inspirational story.
Goodbye. Come on, get away.
5 days a week, rain or shine, the Shepherd sisters lace up their spikes and hit the track. They've only been running for a year and a half, but they're already taking part in the Junior Olympics.
Maya, move up to them.
Where they're going is even more remarkable considering where they came from.
Well, I live in a shelter. It's horrible. It's infested. It's unsanitary. The first time we got there, there was just roaches everywhere we looked.
Life hasn't been easy for the Shepherds. 3 years ago, a half-brother was murdered. Last September, they lost their apartment when their mom couldn't keep up with rising rent.
Home sweet home. This is our bed. It's 2 beds combined because when we first came, our mom didn't like the other room because it was dirty, and it was dirty.
The family sticks together even when they sleep. The rest of the apartment is barren, except for the many medals and trophies proudly on display.
I just want it to be where when I'm ready and I have an apartment, I'm just gone.
For their mom, Tanya Handy, all hope lies in a new job. For her girls, though, athletic scholarships may be their way out. And the Junior Olympics are just a step along the way.
Oh, they're about to tear that up because last year they were right at home. I'm telling you, when these girls hit the big stage, they show off. They do not back down.
New York philanthropist who heard this story flew the girls' mother to Texas to watch them compete. 10-year-old Rain Shepard won the gold medal in the 3,000-meter race for her age group. Up next, the Little Sisters of the Poor are awarded a high honor. And back on the ground, an Orthodox priest completes a record-breaking journey around the world. This is EWTN News Nightly for Wednesday, August 3rd. Good evening, I'm Brian Patrick. The Knights of Columbus 2016 Gaudium et Spes Award goes to the Little Sisters of the Poor. The religious order is honored for its commitment to Catholic beliefs in the face of strong government pressure. The award, presented last night at the Knights Supreme Convention in Toronto, is the highest honor bestowed by the Knights of Columbus. Mother Lorraine Marie McGuire, Superior of the Little Sisters Baltimore Providence, accepted the offer, that is province. Although we never would have chosen to become the public face of conscientious objection to the HHS mandate, she said, we felt compelled to take a stand for the sake of the elderly residents we serve. Women religious and lay women play key roles in the church. This week, Pope Francis created a commission to study the role of women deacons in the early church. Mary Rice Hassan directs the Catholic Women's Forum at the Ethics and Public Policy Center. Mary, what do you expect from this commission?
Well, I think, first of all, it's true women play many roles in the church and occupy many positions, and Pope Francis has broadened that and really invited women into leadership positions. This commission is about clarifying the role of women in the history of the church, because we know there were women deacons, but their function appears to be different from the ordained ministry. And so this is about looking back and saying, let's understand that and let's see if there's something analogous in terms of what women should be doing today.
There's 6 priests on this commission. One of the women who has appointed the commission is a strong advocate of the ordination of women as deacons. Is that likely to happen as the outcome of this?
So this commission is not an open door to the priestly ordination of women. So it's not going to do that.
I didn't say priestly ordination, but the ordination as deacons.
Right, but that's part of holy orders, and that's one of the things that's confusing here, that I think unfortunately some people will look at this and say, if women are allowed to be deacons, however that's understood, that means there shouldn't be anything, there should be no blockage, there should be no glass ceiling there. Women should be able then to progress and to become priests. But that's not the way it is, because ordination is about a vocation, it's about a call. And unfortunately, Phyllis Zagano, the woman that is a real strong advocate, I think is well-meaning, well-intentioned, but mistaken, because she talks about women having dignity, and our dignity being affirmed by being allowed into the ordained ministry. And our dignity does not come from the job we do. An ordained ministry is about vocation. We have equal dignity because we're made in the image and likeness of God.
So the exploration, though, of history seems like a very positive and pretty harmless thing, but that would be the downside, is the expectations.
Right, because they could understand from history that there are things that women could do. The problem would be is if people understand deacon to mean something that's in line to be the priest, a priestly role. And then you're raising false hopes and you're dashing expectations, because the church has spoken clearly. Women are not called to be ordained to the priestly ministry. And so there's no chance that's going to change. So there's a bit of a risk here, just as there was when Paul VI did the Birth Control Commission. And the commission came out, and commissions just have an advisory role. There's no authority here.
A quick question on another issue.
Sure.
Meeting with the Polish bishops last week, Pope Francis lamented that children are being taught in school that gender can be a choice. In fact, he put it in terms of the ideological colonization. What do you think he means by that?
He's spoken about it frequently, and by ideological colonization, he means the attempt to corrupt a culture in order to advance an ideology. And that's what's going on here. The ideology that's being pushed is an atheistic ideology, denying that we're creatures created by a God, and denying sexual difference. There's no more male or female. Indeed, you get to choose. And I think Pope Francis has just hit the nail on the head in really identifying that problem, because that's what we as parents are going to experience. Our kids will be in school, they'll be in healthcare settings, and someone's going to say, do you identify as a boy or a girl? And so we have to be really clear, just as the Pope was clear.
He was very clear. Mary Rice Hassan with the Ethics and Public Policy Center. Thanks, Mary. A Russian Orthodox priest is basking in an incredible accomplishment, setting a new world flight record. 65-year-old Fedor Konyakov flew a hot air balloon solo around the world nonstop. It took him 11 days and about 6 hours. At a news conference today, he called this experience sometimes dangerous, scary, and difficult, but very pleasant at the same time. He says he reached altitudes of more than 36,000 feet, trying to avoid a cold front on his way to Antarctica. And those fronts are really cold at this time of year. For the EWTN News Nightly team, I'm Brian Patrick. We leave you tonight with pictures from today's first public papal audience in more than a month. Good night and God bless.